Good morning, Anthony. How are you this morning?
Morning, Fiona. Very well, thanks. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for your time, Anthony. I'm really glad you were able to join us today for our Storm Pods. And so maybe you could just sort of tell us a little bit about, well, I obviously know you very well. I've been working with you right from when you set things up, but maybe you could tell everybody about Bennett Hay and what you do and the sites that you have and so on, please.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So Robin and myself founded Bennett Hay back in 2010, actually. And we, having worked in hotels and with some of the big contract caterers, we decided to shape a new business that would create experiences for clients in London. So 10 years on, we're actually 10 years old in September, would you believe? So it's amazing how the years go by. Yeah, we're now looking after nearly 30 clients across London, providing reception services, concierge, catering, fine dining events, and also other blended services, as we call it, which is very much bringing a sort of boutique hotel experience into the workplace.
Yeah, and it seems like so long ago we were sat in the offices in Hammersmith, and like you say, to bring boutique hotel service to the facilities worlds. Can you tell us a bit more about the types of facilities companies you have, please, Anthony?
Yeah, sure. So working across most sectors, so everything from sort of law firms through to the banking environments, private wealth. So clients like in the property arena, like British Land Securities. We look after the FT in terms of their head office. Fremantle Media that produce shows like Pop Idol and Britain's Got Talent. So some really interesting spaces and quite a cross section of workers requiring food and beverage wherever they might be in that building.
Yeah, they certainly are interesting places, aren't they? So Anthony, I wanted to have a chat with you, and of course from the facilities world, slightly different to the hospitality and hotel and restaurant world. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about, at the moment, the current situation, and are people getting ready to open? I know you're quite busy at the moment, aren't you, getting ready for that? So maybe you could just talk us through a little bit about their plan at the moment, please.
Sure. Yeah. It's an interesting time. I mean, what a roller coaster for everybody in the hospitality industry. And I guess for us, it's very much workplace related. So, right now, companies are preparing for a return, which is great. Albeit it's going to be a sort of a slow return. I think what's been really interesting out of this lockdown situation is that some companies that ordinarily wouldn't have considered a working from home situation have had to test this, and they've realized that actually they can run their business, with people working from home. Thankfully, it's still not the preferred route of operating businesses. Companies want to be in buildings and collaborating and coming together. Thank goodness, because that's where we come in. So very busy at the moment, preparing buildings to really give customers confidence that they can return to a safe environment. That's the starter.
Great. And Anthony, I know that Bennett Hay, you pride yourself in being creative and doing things differently. Maybe you can just tell us a bit about what sort of things you're going to be putting in place as far as that journey when they go back. We call them guests, don't we, at Bennett Hay? So when the guests come back, what sort of journey points and impact points are you looking at the moment?
Well, we're doing quite a bit of work, as you're saying, very much remapping the guest journey and really just, putting yourself in their shoes. Now, one of the biggest challenges with London, it's fair to say, is the commute, which we can't control. But certainly when they arrive at the building, we are, doing things like reducing, marking out floor spaces and creating one-way systems around offices. We're reducing the number of people that can go into a lift, reducing signposting to help people move around a building and encouraging people to take stairs, those kind of things. So, but we're trying to do it in a sort of a fun way rather than it being, providing any kind of fear or anything. So one of the things that is a big development for us is technology. I mean, it's always been there, but actually it's going to become more and more important to what we do, because we're we're finding that with some clients, we're working on community apps where they can actually notify a client when they're within sort of 10 yards of the building to say, "Oh, could you pop back later because it's very busy in reception at the moment," things like that. So I can see, personalization is going to become an increasing trend that has been there for a while.
Great. And the personal touch has always been important, isn't it? And that's sort of like making sure the service is personalised and with the team. How are you going to be with your team? So what are your team going to be wearing? How are you training them and so on, so that they don't come across in a scary way? They come across in the hospitality way that we've been working on.
The start point for us was making sure that all of our people have the same understanding of the virus, and because there's so much media out there and different information, and so we were conscious that our sort of over 200 people, we wanted to make sure that they all had a consistent message. So that was our start point. So we've been doing online training with all of our colleagues over the last few weeks and month now, and so that was the starter. And then it was really then helping them get their heads around returning to the workplace, and sort of what is it going to be like, how are we going to support them in getting to work, and those are some of the things that we've been working on at the moment. And then absolutely, it's all about the risk assessment within the workplace. How do we make it safe for them in working? How do we stagger their shifts so that we are allowing for as limited sort of close working. The social distancing rule, I know, is a bit up in the air at the moment, but obviously, we a bit like one of your other speakers, we have to make sure that we plan today based on what we know today, from government guidance, but we're fully prepared to flex that and adapt, in the coming weeks, depending on what the advice is.
Yeah, great. And like you say, is as that evolves, isn't it? We just have to be ready to change if we can, and well, we will, won't we? And how we change that, definitely. Anthony, the Bennett Hay team, or as the Bennett Hay community you call them, how are you keeping them all motivated, and how are you keeping connected? What sort of things are you doing with the team?
Well, community has always been a really central part of Bennett Hay, and we've thankfully we created a very good, very strong private community for our colleagues. It's over a year now actually, and that has been incredible how that's come into play. During this time, it's been very active, and actually it's been the central point for us to really engage all our people and make sure that we're in contact with them, and we're trying to keep spirits up, and trying to, even just little things like our nutritionist, Kate, she's been providing weekly videos with tips on how to shape routine for them, because routine is one of the biggest things for people during this time, certainly in the early stages, to reshape. There are people that were perhaps having a couple of coffees a day have moved to about 7 now, and things like that. And so it's just making sure that even though they're on furlough, they are conscious of their routine and staying, healthy and safe.
Yeah, so true. And a majority of them are on furlough. So what other sort of things? I know you've been doing pub quizzes. I know I did a workshop with the leadership team, and we've done some questions and answers. What other sort of things have they been doing? Because it seems pretty active.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's times like this that, you really get to know your people, and the community has really brought that to the forefront. And we seem, clearly so many people have been supporting the NHS and cooking meals, preparing meals, even working on the front line in hospitals as well. And that's not necessarily been something that we've, as a business, have suggested for our colleagues. Our colleagues are out there, and I think that's very indicative of the type of people that work with us. They're not happy to just sit on their laurels. They want to get out there and do what they can. And so there's been amazing community support going on wherever our colleagues live, whether it be in London or outside London. Which has been great. But we continue to keep people engaged. The cooking has been amazing. I think the Hospitality for Heroes campaign has been a real great catalyst for raising money, but also actually getting people in the kitchen. And that's been one of the biggest activities that continues to go on in our business online.
Great stuff. Thanks, Anthony. And I'll ask you more about that because I know that's going to be your chosen charity as well. With our learning and development head on, what are you going to carry on doing? Because obviously for the last almost 3 months, things have been different, and all those things you've just mentioned. What do you think you will carry on doing in the community, in the Bennett Hay community? What things will you continue to do? Would that be Zoom calls? Will that be pub quizzes? What sort of things will you make sure you carry on with?
I think that the community piece has been the key one, and what I've certainly learned from this, I've actually got to know our colleagues better, and it's certainly given me a lesson in making sure that we keep the social contact going, because I think it's very easy to get back into the busy routine, and so many of us are serving on the front line and looking after our guests. And so I've realized that actually we need to make sure that we're creating time for that social contact for our people, to come together and just have a laugh, really.
It's so interesting, Anthony, because I think, like you said, you're a close community anyway, but a lot of these storm pods, people have said we don't want to lose that quality time. And like you say, having some fun even during the current climate, isn't it? Very important. Good. So next question for you, Anthony. Service-wise, I'm going to ask you in a moment about what you're looking forward to doing, but how do you think, I know you talked us through the guest journey, but how do you think the service experience will change when we do open the doors to the sites that you look after?
What's been interesting is that because we're seeing a sort of a gradual return, one of our law firms in September plans to return a third of their office, and they'll be working on a kind of team ABC, rotation, and so for companies to manage that situation, they'll need to know more about the guest that's coming to the building. So they'll need to know, do they need a desk? Do they need a meeting room? What else do they need during their stay? So that when they arrive, everything is there for them and it's efficient. So we're using technology to do that, very much our community app, which enables guests to be able to pre-book, prepay for whatever service they need in the building. And so what we see is, as a major opportunity, is the continuation of that, and with this sort of more personalized service. We're planning for clearly food that customers can shape themselves via our app, that may be delivered to them or to a collection point. And I think that this personalization is something that will continue, and that'll be one of the biggest changes, I think. We've seen it as a trend coming down the line in the hotel world, and I think it's going to hit workplace now in a bigger way.
Yeah, such a good point, Anthony. So based on your experience over the last, as I said, almost 3 months, what wise words do you have for our wonderful industry? Anything in particular that you would recommend or just share with our wonderful team out there, our wonderful industry?
Well, Robin and I have been having a conversation with our colleagues via a similar format to this, every couple of weeks. And what I've learned is that people just want you to be human. They want you to be open and honest with them, however difficult the message might be. They would rather that you keep the dialogue open. And I would say that that's the most important thing. We're definitely approaching some tricky few weeks and months, but our industry will bounce back. We're all very creative and we're all very adaptive, and it will come back. And so, what we're trying to do is just be very compassionate towards our people, and just make sure that we look after them as best we can throughout this period.
Yeah, sounds good, Anthony. Thank you. So you said earlier about routine. What have you been making sure that you do most days? I'm sure every day is a different day, but what sort of things have you been making sure you do as a routine?
Well, I've taken up yoga. That's been a good thing for me. Just the first thing I do in the morning, just to have a good stretch, effectively. And then it's really about making sure that I work mornings, and then I take some time in the afternoon to go outside, as much as we've been able to, the past weeks. But that's been really important. And then it's really just been connecting with my team and my immediate team, and just making sure that we're constantly thinking about what the future looks like, and how can we continue to develop the business to anticipate, the sort of needs that I think customers will have in the medium and long term.
Great, thank you, Anthony. And is there anything in particular when we do come out of lockdown, which of course we have already started to, haven't we? What in particular are you looking forward to doing?
So I need to go and hug my mum for sure. I think those of us that are still fortunate enough to have parents around, it's I think they're the ones that probably miss us, miss that contact the most, and so that would be the first thing I do, like a good son.
Very good answer, but I know that's true, and I couldn't agree more. Very, very good one. Thank you, Anthony. Finally, for our Storm Pods, we're asking our wonderful colleagues to nominate a charity of their choice, which we will promote when we post this Storm Pod and share it on various different medias. Which charity, please, would you like to nominate?
I'd like to nominate Hospitality Action, which I know is close to all of our hearts, and any support we can give Hospitality Action would be fantastic, because we know that it reaches people, and we'll continue to support them during these times.
I know Mark Lewis will be very happy with that, Anthony. Anthony, it seems strange not seeing you face to face. It certainly seems strange not seeing you and the team on a regular basis, but I'd just like to say a big thank you, and I really look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thanks, Fiona. Nice to see you. See you soon.